Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today's story shows why it's so important to know what a woman is. Today's story shows why it's so important to live in reality. And when it comes to policy makers, lawmakers, unfortunately, when they decide that they want to go down the gender ideology route, it's going to affect females in our everyday lives, in our schools, in our colleges, in our sports. And when we speak up for ourselves, it gets turned around on us and we get told that we're the ones with the problem. So we have a group of nurses over in the UK, NHS nurses, long-time nurses who have been forced to share a locker room with a male nurse because this person identifies as a woman. And when they raised their concerns, they were told that they need to educate themselves. They were told that they need to broaden their minds, that they're too narrow-minded, and that there's something wrong with them. Not only did they raise concerns about having to share a changing room with a man, they raised concerns about this person's behaviour that was very concerning and intimidating towards them. Apparently that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter!
Because all that matters is reaffirming a man who wants to identify as a woman. The male takes priority, apparently. When a group of female NHS nurses complained to hospital bosses about intimidating behaviour of a trans colleague in their shared changing room, they may have expected a sympathetic hearing at least. But not only did officials dismiss the concerns of the long-serving staff members, they allegedly told the nurses they needed to get educated and broaden their minds. It was, the nurses say, an offensive response to their legitimate complaints that their colleagues' presence was degrading and humiliating. They also told the HR department that the 26-year-old stared at their breasts when they were getting undressed and lingered longer than necessary in the changing room. Now, what does this remind you of? I'm seeing a pattern here. The young girls who had to put up with Leah Thomas in their locker room when they objected to having to share a locker room with a fully intact 6'4" male, where they're all changing into their swimsuits so they can't even change discreetly in a corner somewhere, relatively covered up. They're changing into their swimsuits that take 15 minutes to put on, and apparently they were put in this situation 18 times a week. When they brought up their concerns, they were told that they need to seek counselling because they're uncomfortable with a naked man in their locker room. They're the ones who had to seek counselling. They're the ones who had to be educated. There was something wrong with the females, apparently. So we've gone from all accepting that flashing is a crime. We've all gone from accepting that if you see something suspicious, you need to report it. We've gone from everybody accepting, unless you're a pervert, that women don't need to be exposed to random male genitalia. We've gone from that to now saying that if you're uncomfortable with it, there's something wrong with you. If you're uncomfortable with it, it's because you're a bigot. It's absolutely insane. And you would think that in a hospital, nurses, medical professionals of various kinds, you would think they would know what a woman is. You would think they would understand that a male cannot turn himself into a woman at will. That a male, no matter how he identifies, is still male and will never be female. But yet we've got medical professionals in the NHS where a lot of our tax dollars go towards, or pounds go towards, saying that we have to accept that a man can be a woman. You certainly don't have to be a biologist. You certainly don't have to be a nurse or a doctor to know that that's just not true and will never be true. But yet it's these female nurses who have to be educated. Wow. The nurses say their colleague, who is understood not to have had a gender reassignment surgery, had told fellow workers at Darlington Memorial Hospital they had stopped taking cross-sex hormones because they were trying to get their girlfriend pregnant and therefore is a sexually active biological male. We're at the point now where there aren't any requirements. A straight-up dude can be in your changing rooms, getting a kick out of being there, to put it lightly, and you're just going to have to accept it. This is where we're at now. There's a lot there to unpack that we don't have time to go into. Now, after being dissatisfied with the response from bosses, 8 of the nurses are launching an unprecedented employment tribunal against the NHS Trust that employs them, claiming harassment, indirect discrimination, victimization, and human rights violations. Absolutely commend these nurses. This is what we need. We have various court cases going on at the moment. This is exactly what we need to put a stop to this nonsense. We need to hold these employers accountable. Enough is enough of this. Stop harassing, stop abusing, stop discriminating against women. Enough of this. It's only going to change when women take legal action and force the law to address this matter once and for all. Over in Australia, the courts are being forced to determine what a woman is. The courts are being forced to define what a woman is and stand by their definition. Enough of this straddling the fence and pretending that you don't know what a woman is. All to accommodate these ridiculous policies, all to accommodate the cult of gender ideology. We've got young girls, young athletes who are barely out of their teens in court at the moment, fighting for the right to have their sports to themselves as women and not have to share it or basically see it being stolen by male athletes. We've got women holding these sporting bodies accountable now, the NCAA or NCAA, whichever one it is. It's about time that they're held to account for their policies that have harmed women, their policies that have affected women's sports. It's about time that these decision makers are held accountable and stop acting like there's no consequences to their decisions, to their policies, that they don't affect women, actual women.
You're scanning the changing room before you start to undress. It's just uncomfortable, very uncomfortable.
It's disgraceful that nurses are ending up in tears prior to their shift. I mean, we are there to be an emotional support for our patients who are about to undergo surgery. And it's very difficult to do that if you're in a state of distress from having to change in front of a male.
We just want a safe space for us, a female-only space for us to get changed.
Now I know the trust policy. Anybody can be
well,
in there.
Well, that's the problem.
You know, anyone can identify as female can use that changing room.
I don't want to get changed in front of a biological man, and I don't want to see him getting changed neither. That's not what I want to see when I come into work.
And we're just wanting to talk about this and raise this issue so that women are aware that there may be policies in their workplace, particularly in the NHS. We want other nurses to be aware of what their transgender policy is.
See, that's very upsetting to hear that. Nurses have been through it over the last few years, all from the pandemic and everything. They've really been through it, and now they have to deal with this. It's just shocking. It really is. It's so unacceptable that you would treat women this way, nurses this way. It's absolutely despicable. And then they turn around and say, you need to broaden your mind? What is this? There are no words. There really are no words anymore. To think that you go to work, probably doing a 12-hour shift at least, and you have to deal with this. Why? Why is this acceptable to people? Why do these decision makers, these NHS policy makers or whatever, why do they think it's acceptable to put women through this? It's as if they have no respect for women whatsoever. It's as if they don't value women. She said they have to be, provide emotional support for patients, but yet they don't even have a safe space to change before they start their shift. That's not too much to ask for. It really isn't. A safe space to get changed. It sounds all too familiar. This is happening across the board. Why? What happened to championing women's rights? And now we can't even get changed in our locker rooms, in our changing rooms, without having to invite men in there. It's just a straight up dude who has a girlfriend. Somebody who is clearly attracted to women. They have to be okay with a man looking at them, being aroused. We're now telling women that they have to be okay with that. What does this re-education involve? I'm sure it involves telling yourself lies, deluding yourself, repeating mantras over and over again, hoping that you may end up believing it if you repeat it enough. Mantras such as, trans women are women. Men can have babies. Some women have penises. That's the sort of education they're talking about, no doubt. Absolute lunacy. Going around sounding like a complete maniac, calling yourself a medical professional, but going around saying that men can have babies. That's the sort of education they're pushing on these nurses. Basically, to unlearn basic biology. In order to have job security, you've got to be willing to be in a changing room with a male. You've got to be willing to accept lies that some women have penises and things of that nature. So I commend them for fighting back. I wish them every success with their case, with their tribunal case. And, if there's any GoFundMe or anything like that, I'm there. Because enough is enough of this. It's outright discrimination against females. Outright discrimination. I'm sure they didn't sign up to these terms when they became a nurse. Because you would think nurses understand the difference between male and female. So that's something they probably didn't even have in mind when they signed up to become a nurse. Just like a female athlete who wants to compete doesn't think somewhere along the line they're going to now have to compete against a man, or they'll be excluded from their own sports. That's not what we signed up for. Those are not the terms by which we participate in sports. Those are not the terms by which we go to work and do our jobs. I think these women have every chance of success with their case. Those 4 brave women spoke to the Daily Mail. They were saying that women need to stop being fearful about this and use their voice. We have fought so long to get women's rights, but it's just gone backwards. And I'm not prepared to see that. The legal claim, seen by the Mail, says that since August 2023, they have repeatedly raised concerns with hospital managers about the trans nurse called Rose, who has been given access to the female changing room. The nurses allege that Rose stares at female colleagues, in particular at their breast area, as they are getting changed. A formal complaint signed by 26 nurses was sent to bosses at the County Durham and Darlington NHS Foundation Trust in April, but a human resources manager allegedly dismissed their concerns and said the nurses needed to broaden their mindset, be more inclusive, and be educated. It is so offensive to us because we are all educated. We need a degree in order to do this job. And some of us have multiple degrees. We've got very intelligent people on our ward. So it was disgusting for them to say something like that to us. We're not transphobic and we're not fearful of trans people. We believe they need their own changing space that's safe for them. Again, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with saying that because this person is male, let's have them in their own space and leave our space alone? All we're saying is common sense should still apply. That women should not be put in this situation. That is abusive, that's discriminatory. It's outright reckless to put women in this situation. Safe spaces are there for a reason. And we're talking about the workplace, where there are accusations made all the time. So wouldn't it be in the best interest of everybody to make sure that boundaries exist? That women can change with other women, men can change amongst other men, and if you identify as something else, maybe you can have your own space, a separate space. But why is it okay to infringe upon women's spaces? It's not. And there needs to be some accountability. So finally, I hope we will see that. I'm going to definitely look out for updates on this whole case, just like all the other cases that are going on at the moment. There's some of the comments under this video. The male practitioner who openly declares that he does not take female hormones and is trying to get his girlfriend pregnant says that he identifies as a woman and is called Rose. OFFS. How do we donate to their legal case? So when I find that out, I will leave the link in the description. Sal Grover, we know about Sal's case over in Australia. Again, a very important case that is forcing the courts to finally, once and for all, decide what a woman is so we can all get on with it. Imagine having this person assigned to care for you in hospital. It's terrifying. Oh yeah, I mean, over in the UK, they have males who identify as women permitted to do strip searches on females. the various police departments, I forgot what they're called in the UK, they're allowed to opt into this. And I believe it was 22 out of 30 something that opted into it. I'll leave the link to that story in the description. So again, when it comes to a hospital setting, there are consequences to accepting that a man can be a woman. I mean, what's going to happen when a female patient requests a female doctor or a female nurse? Who are they going to get? Bless them, they are so brave. This is the kind of thing that enrages the trans lobby. They will hound these women if they can. And that's why people don't come out and speak about this. That's why women remain silent. But more and more women are speaking out because they've had enough. And I commend these brave women. Bloody love these nurses for speaking out, absolutely. It's crazy that no one seems to be listening to something which seems like a fairly simple request. It's crazy that they even have to ask. Lawsuits are the only way, and even then it may not punch through. Money, civil lawsuits, is the only thing these types care about. Yeah. So let me know what you think about this case. Let me know what you think about this story. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Like, comment and subscribe. And God willing, I will see you in the next video.